Hello everybody and welcome. I'm Michael Maloney, past All-American Commander of Post 7262 right here in Greenville. We're here at Greenville High School at the IMTV. We're very, very happy today to talk to our VFW State Commander, Chris Haynes. Chris, please start off by telling us a little bit about yourself, where you came from, where you grew up, where you went to school, where you did your service, and how you became state commander.
Well, I was born not too far south of here in Hamilton, Ohio. Graduated Hamilton High School. Shortly thereafter, 2-week summer vacation, and enlisted in the United States Navy. So not a whole lot of time between getting out of school and going to military life, but did my boot camp up in Chicago, Illinois at Great Lakes Naval Training Center. And after graduating there, of course, went into the schooling of what my choice, which was an aircraft electrician. So got to work on a few different aircraft throughout the Navy, but the one that's near and dear to my heart is an A6 Intruder. Got to spend a lot of time on it, and did a few tours on an aircraft carrier through the Mediterranean, and ultimately served in Operation Desert Shield and Desert Storm.
Right on, right on. Of course, thank you for your service. After you got out of the military, how long did you serve?
I served a little over 8 years in the service.
8 years. And after you got out, what did you do?
I got out, took about 4 months off as a little break, and then started looking for a job. Went and worked at a rest home because, you know, in my heart, I feel that, you know, my passion is service to other people. You know, whether it's service to your country, service to your community, or anything. So I went and worked at a nursing home for a couple of years, doing some electric work for them and so forth, and then got hired on with the city of Hamilton, where I'm currently employed at right now for the last 17 years.
Okay. Again, we very much appreciate you being here. Commander Haynes is coming here doing this interview for us because we're going to have a talent show, a mock rock talent show on Halloween this year, and he's not going to be able to make it because he's going to be at a very important engagement elsewhere. But it was nice to come in here and record it so we can show it, show part of it at the show there, and he's represented and so forth. What do you do in the night of Halloween that keeps you away?
A post-anniversary dinner at another location, Baltimore, Ohio, a little southeast of Columbus area. Mm-hmm. So they invited me up that way, and it's always good to go to post-anniversaries and see the amount of years they put into serving veterans and their community, and be part of that. So you know, you can't be everywhere, but you know, sometimes you got to pick and choose where you want to attend, but this has been on the schedule for a number of months now anyways.
Yes, well, we definitely wish the Baltimore Post great luck. 70th anniversary is important. It's important to what we're doing with the digital library. That's how we plan on starting our attack, is to go with the VFWs and Legions first, get their charters, get all their past commander, past president information, pictures and so forth, and start from there to build our digital library. So what he's doing is right in line with what we're after too, and we sure are glad to have him today. You had mentioned you went to work. When did you get involved with VFW?
I joined the VFW at the conclusion of Desert Storm, so I joined in March of '91. There again, I stayed in the service until 1996. Got out in September. Became active in my post shortly, not long after that. As you know, we have all these different positions within the post for officers, and you know, when I come back and got into the post, they asked me to run for a chair there, so I did, and for the last 17 years or so, 18 years, I've been heavily involved in the VFW.
Yeah, and then you went through the chairs, and now you're state commander.
Sure.
Congratulations, sir. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what is particularly special about Commander Haynes here is he is the first state commander of Ohio to be post-Vietnam era. So in other words, his service is post, is past the Vietnam. Every other state commander has been Vietnam or past. So it's nice to see new blood and fresher, more vibrant blood and things, because I believe that's something we need. What do you think is one of the greatest challenges that that the VFW needs to meet now?
In my opinion, we need to look at the changing of the guard. And I've talked to a lot of the older veterans over the past few years as I've come through the chairs to be the state commander. Myself and a lot of other ones in my era are so proud of the torch that the World War II guys, the Korean guys, and the Vietnam veterans carried to keep these posts alive, and what these VFWs stand for. And I've always told them, don't be afraid to pass that torch on. We'll carry it high, we'll keep it lit brightly, and we'll pass it on to the next generation. So just the knowledge you learned and the passion you have for the organization, I think is what shows with my generation and the generation behind me that there is a passion for this, and to serve our veterans and our communities is what we're all about.
Right, and that goes completely in line with what we're trying to do with our digital library. Not only did these World War II veterans and Korean veterans, not only did they serve their country, honorably, they came back and started these organizations.
Sure.
That is just amazing. That's amazing history that shouldn't be left out.
Sure.
What they came back and did. These organizations, we're celebrating 70th anniversaries. We're going to celebrate ours in Memorial Day next year.
I hope to be there.
Yeah. Yes, we hope to have you there, sir. We'll put in our request early.
Sure.
We'll put a request in early and have you there. They'll be fabulous. But that's exactly what we're doing, trying to capture that stuff. There are projects out there that do this. There's Voice of Veterans projects that I just spoke with Wright State University about and saw what they did. And we're going to check all these best practices and use everybody and group all this stuff together. It's just something vitally important because I believe the digital age has to meet with those people. You have like you said, the old guard and possibly the new guard in the VFW. I think everybody knows that. I think everybody recognizes that. But what they don't recognize is there's a digital gap there.
And
all our stuff is on paper. All theirs is on their phone.
The time that you and I have spent in our post and talked to our heroes from the past,
right.
The World War II vets, the Korean, Vietnam vets. We know their stories, but
right.
Who else knows them?
That's exactly right, Chris. That's exactly right. Because think of how valuable. Let's say your grandfather served
Sure.
in, I don't know, we'll say World War I.
Right.
Think of how valuable a video of him talking about his experience would be to you.
Right. It's invaluable for generations to come.
Generations to
right.
come. Absolutely, absolutely. So that's pretty much our mission. What else could we ask the state of VFW to do for us or help us with this? Is there any way you can think that you could help us with this?
Sure. We put out, of course, a newsletter every other month. We can advertise that we're looking for this kind of stuff to keep the message alive, right. Not only for what we're saying now, but for those that we've talked to in the past. Yeah. The state VFW will do everything in its power to help all the posts out there and projects, especially something as significant as this, right. To get the word out, to make that contact, to get those stories told and recorded to use for years on end.
Yeah, and after we get through this talent show, the talent show is just the big bang, right. to publicize what we're actually doing. What the real meat of it is the library and eventually the digital memorial, and that's what we need. We need the state's help, keeping it going. And hey, tell your story here. That's important because because after the talent show and after we get that little bit of money we want, it's going to be grant writing and,
Sure.
and partnershiping with the high schools here, partnershiping with Wright State University. There's a professor at Wright State University that's already led me on to Ohio State for the architecture of the memorial, hopefully down the road.
Great.
So there's a whole long-term plan there, and I really appreciate having the state VFW involved with it. It's going to be important later when we go to get an outreach to the veterans, and when we're ready to take all that stuff and make interviews and start appointments and so forth. So we're very excited about it. Very excited about it.
I think it's a great idea, and it's a wonderful project. And you know, we as a department or the state of Ohio here, VFW, along with the posts that you have in your local district here, I believe you got 42 posts in this district.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's a wealth of knowledge, there's a wealth of experience, there's a wealth of stories out there to be told.
Right.
You know, for those generations that follow us.
Yes. And you know, the other thing, we're always probably going to need funding, but we'd eventually like to get to the point where we fund ourselves.
Sure.
But there's also something very intangible, is people's advice, like you said, and the people's knowledge. Sometimes, you know, money isn't the most valuable thing to us. It's their advice and how they can teach us the best practice and how the best way to go about it. That's already occurred with us. You know, some of the best things people have given us right now is, you know, their ideas and advice.
Sure.
And like, oh my goodness, why didn't we think about that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, sir?
You know, I'm just, you know, here in the state of Ohio, we currently have about 62,000 veterans that belong to the VFW, and many others that belong to our auxiliaries. You know, I'm proud of each one of them. We have approximately 362 VFW posts all around the state. You know, each is unique in their own special way, but they all do a great job for this organization, and not only serving the veterans and their communities, but what they do for all the other projects that we have going on. You know. I think that's one thing special about the VFW is the amount of projects that we have to offer, and the posts that really get involved with them and participate in them. You know, one of our premier programs that we have, since we're sitting here in the high school, is our Voice of Democracy program.
Yes.
For high school students to have an opportunity through a 5-minute oral essay on a subject chosen by our national commander to earn themselves possibly a $30,000 scholarship. So I mean, it's a huge thing. We have something else for our younger students, Patriot Pen, which is a written essay. But there's so many other things.
Is that middle school? Is it
middle school
Yeah.
children, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And just so many other projects we do out there with the honor flights and everything. You know, wearing these hats is a proud thing for me that we've earned that eligibility to wear them. And just those things that we do on a day-to-day basis that most people don't see us do, but we're out there doing it. And that's what makes it special for me to be a part of this organization.
Excellent, excellent. You mentioned, and that's the greatest thing about the digital library and the work we're going to do is I almost forgot what I was going to say now, but you mentioned the honor flights.
Sure.
I would like to foresee a time, and this of course depends on timing, and I don't know, maybe the high school or somebody in a partnership could do it. We should go on an honor flight.
Sure.
And document it with cameras, and for the veterans that want to be interviewed, get those stories. You know, while they're looking at the monuments. To me, that would be a fantastic.
Yeah. And what's going through their mind? What are they remembering?
Exactly.
You know, when they see it.
We should have a documentary crew with every one of those honor flights.
Sure.
So that's something we're working on down the road. That I think that's something the VFW could give us some lift on.
Sure.
So that's certainly something to talk about when you. And then the other thing it does also that I've found, just working on it, is when we get into people's details, like if we say, hey, give us your stuff, they'll give us these pictures and stuff like that. You'll find out that their record, sometimes it's inaccurate, that there's medals out there they didn't get,
Sure.
or stuff like that. I have a good friend that her grandpa in World War I, back in World War I, they didn't issue Purple Hearts.
Right.
They do now, though. She wrote the Department of Defense, and they sent her a Purple Heart.
And you know, we have a network of VFW service officers here in the state of Ohio. We have currently 10 of them, headquartered in Cleveland and in Cincinnati. But that's part of their job also, not only to ensure that each service member gets the entitled benefits they deserve through the Veterans Administration, but that's also another part of it to ensure that their discharge paperwork are correct and that they've been issued their medals and ribbons and whatever else. So, you know, that's just all part of that veteran service that the VFW does.
Right. Okay, sir, what else do we have for me? I understand you're going to be at our Halloween parade, Greenville's Halloween parade, the 29th of October.
I shall be.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a great event. We're obviously going to promote our show there at the talent show. I'll be dressed up as somebody special. I normally don't. I normally don't grow a beard. As you can see, I have a beard right now. It's for an act. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
How many participants do you have in the talent show right now?
We actually have seven people competing, and then we have an 8th finale show, a special
finale show.
Finale show. Actually, it's on Facebook. We just put out the lineup. The finale show is going to be comprised of some Greenville alumni. It's going to be a fantastic show. We're very excited about it.
Outstanding.
We're very excited about it. Is there anything else you would like to add, sir, about the organization, or anything else you'd like to add about your own personal interview?
Well, you know, I think the organization as a whole is going to change dramatically in the next few years.
It already is.
Yeah. You know, I mean, our beloved World War II, Korea, Vietnam guys, you know, they're not getting any younger. We all know that. You know, part of our charge as an organization through each local post and everything is to find those eligible members, bring them into our posts, give them the passion that we have for the organization and what we do out there on a daily basis, and just bring them into our fold and let them know that they're welcome as members. And you know, we'd love to see them on board and keep this organization going. You know, the VFW's been around 116 years, started in Columbus, Ohio in 1899, and well, I hope it's here for another 116 years at least.
Now, you say 1899. Post 1 in Denver, is that? Can you explain how they work out?
Post 1 in
I've
Denver.
been watching that because they've moved on to the digital.
They have.
They're in line.
They've got a large group of younger veterans in there. They actually, I think, on Veterans Day, they're actually bringing a new member on, and they're doing it live via satellite from the International Space Station. Scott Kelly is going to join as a member of their post.
Wow!
Via the International Space Station.
That is something.
So,
I didn't know that.
Yes, I mean, so that's something unique to them.
Yeah.
You know, but the VFW as a whole, you know, in September 29th, 1899. 14 guys got together there in Columbus that was veterans of the Spanish-American War, and you know, once they got done with their service, they was just sent on, no matter if they was maimed, injured, whatever it may be. So they got together and said, hey, our government needs to do something for us. You know, so that's where it started there. Out west in the Denver area, they had the Mexican-American militia that served down in Mexico around the same time, and then Pennsylvania also had one. So you had these 3 veterans groups out there, and instead of having 3 separate voices in Washington, they all come together in 1914 in Pittsburgh, and got together and said, let's all, you know, take this veterans organization's name, this one's name, let's make it the Veterans of Foreign Wars. We're all here together. Right. So when that happened, you know, they started assigning post numbers, and Denver got the post number 1.
But Columbus can still say they were.
We are, because the veterans that served out west.
I didn't know this. Thanks. This is good info.
They had their first meeting December 20th of 1899. Well, we had our September 29th of 1899. So, and even the national organization recognizes us in Ohio as being the start of the VFW, even though it was the American Veterans of Foreign Service at that time.
Right.
You know, but once they come together in 1914 and combined, made that, then the charter was issued.
Now, in 1914, that's the Founders' Day, right? Is that, or is that? they go back to Founders Day Columbus.
We go back to Founders Day
Day
Columbus,
Columbus.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it all started.
Right.
And
Well, that makes, of course, September, yeah.
three of the gentlemen who were at that first meeting are buried there in Green Lawn Cemetery in Columbus, so we always do Founders Day right next to their graves.
The National Commander was there, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that's part of what the Digital Library wants to do is educate digitally
Right.
and get out there to where our stuff is online and accessible. You know, sometimes you want to look stuff up and you get a blank because it's not on there.
Exactly.
If we get it on there, our story is out there.
Exactly.
I love seeing that stuff on Facebook.
And the social media, you know, these younger veterans, and we've talked about it in our posts and around the department, I'm sure in the districts, you know, these younger veterans are social media junkies.
Right.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
put out a newsletter, they're not ever going to see
That's
it
right.
because
If
they're
you
not
put
going
it
to
on-
read the mail. But if you put it on Facebook
They'll
or
see it.
Twitter or something,
They'll know it.
they'll
Yes,
be at your
right.
post, man.
That's-
They'll see it.
That's how I knew that the National Commander was
Sure.
at Founders Day
Sure.
on Facebook.
Sure.
You know?
I mean, you know, I went to training out in Kansas City for the last couple of years prior to becoming state commander, and they put out this survey and all these statistics to us, so we know what we're looking for as we come into this position. But I believe between the younger veterans, they had it at 92% of them use Facebook.
Yeah, and think and consider this, Chris. Consider, you know, with the digital, all this digital stuff, and we're talking about membership.
Sure.
We're growing our members.
Sure.
There's millions out there
Right.
on Facebook, on
Right.
Twitter. That, you know, do they have to go to a post to be a member?
No.
No, they could. We could. You know, you could
Be a members at large.
Virtual, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they've even talked so far as looking to the future.
I'm glad they're looking at it.
and maybe not, you know, requiring monthly post meetings.
Possibly, yeah.
You know, a virtual meeting.
You could, yes,
do it on
you could have meetings online,
Skype
yes.
or whatever.
Yes.
You know, get all your veterans together
Yeah.
on Skype somehow and hold a
Absolutely.
meeting that way. You know,
Yeah.
so I mean, you got to think outside the box. You know, what we did in 1940 and 1970
working
and
out, yeah.
1990 isn't the same thing we're doing 2020.
Right, and on the flip side of that, you'll have resistance from the
You
old
will.
guard.
You will.
That's why we need to get the old guard and get them in and get them interviewed.
Sure.
Show them this stuff. You know, show them what we're capable. We're, you know, with the proceeds of our talent show, one of the things we're going to do is we're bringing a big screen and projector.
Okay.
You know, so we can, so at certain times, you know, of the week or something like it, we show this stuff to
Sure.
them. Hopefully they'll come in, because a lot of people say, well, you know, so-and-so can't see this, he didn't even have a computer. Come on in here, we'll show him all this stuff. We'll show him all his stuff. You know?
Right. Right.
And I think that's how we're going to sell them. I think it's going to be great.
And I think that's the way we need to go from here on out. You know, we got to use that social media and any technology we have available to us. Use that to educate our members.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a big thing. You know, the old status quo of what the stigma is of the VFW is not what it really is.
That's right.
You know, so I mean, we're changing that mindset not only among our younger members, but through some of the older members too.
Right.
So you know, and we're only worst advertisers. You know, we keep everything inside. We don't tell our story.
Chris, you're absolutely right.
You
That's
know,
what- yes.
so doing something
get
like
out.
this
That's right.
is telling our story.
Absolutely
You know,
right.
and every member has their own individual story of why they joined.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is it because, you know, my father was a member, my grandfather was, you know, I was the only one in my family that was in service.
Right.
You know, but I'd been to the VFW prior to joining the service, and I knew that's what I wanted to do, was come back and still do some kind of service within my community and take care of our vets.
Right.
So.
And these stories, each and every one of them is amazing.
Sure.
And they're all unique and they're all different. Everybody's like, oh, you hear one story. No, they're all
Right.
different. They're all different. I've done enough so far. They're already all different.
You know, I thought it was bad when, you know, when I was on a cruise during Desert Storm, we spent 97 days straight at sea. You know, that's 3
That's
months
tough, yeah.
and 7 days,
Yeah.
and never seen land, never stood on land.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you talk to a World War vet that served in the Pacific,
4 years.
yeah,
Yes.
he may have done it for 3 straight
Yes,
years.
years, yes,
You know,
yes.
and so my story, what I thought
Right.
was bad,
Yeah.
is pales in comparison to what they had to go through. So, but to learn that knowledge, you know, is what I enjoy the most.
But Chris, let me get a little deeper with you on this, because you hit on something that it's hard to talk about, oh, I did this in Iraqi freedom, when you know the World War II veterans had it a lot worse.
Sure.
That is kind of a problem, because with PSDT and our suicide rate, this is another good reason to interview vets, to try to get that information.
Sure.
And maybe some red flags, you
Right.
know, because again, you know, veterans won't tell you, oh, I have it so bad, because they know the guy next to them had it worse, or they know somebody
Right.
that didn't make it, or you know what I'm saying. They won't tell their story, or won't say they did anything special. And that's common among vets. They'll say, "Oh, I didn't do anything special," you know. They'll say that because they've seen worse. They've seen other guys or gals, you know, do worse.
Right.
So they don't want to say that they had it so bad.
Sure.
And sometimes that becomes a problem, because they have to, oh, you have to suck up, you have to suck it up and just move on, and then you know, and then you have PSDT and you have these suicide problems.
Well, and I think that's why, you know, back in the days when we had, you know, World War II, especially when 80% of these posts were organized, you know, you had, you know, 14 million veterans come home and wanted to keep that camaraderie they had over there.
That's what that's what
you know, so they had a release valve to come into a VFW post and talk amongst people who understand the same issues. It may not be the exact same scenarios, but they understand the issues.
But in the exact same way digitally now.
Sure.
If we can outreach digitally, oh, a story. Well, I got a story. You know, you know, I did this too. Kind of blah blah. You know, that's it. That's it. Exactly.
Yes.
It's gonna heal in so many ways. It's gonna teach in so many ways.
Right.
And thank you again for being behind this.
Hey. Thank you for the offer.
Hey,
I
no
appreciate
problem,
that.
sir.
Yes.
What? Anything else, sir?
I think we're okay.
All right.